Anyone you want? Okay. Please rise for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a roll call, please.
Jeff Gigliano,
Here.
Nicole Branch,
Wait.
Patrick Beatty, Peter Barbary, Jim Ferguson.
Here. All in favor?
Aye.
Financial report.
Yeah, the financials are in front of you, 2 pages worth. So by month, we're on target, pretty much the same as what we've seen. Saw last year, a little less than that, but more than in 21. So up to this point, we've got 28,079.46 in revenue. And then on the back is what we have in the fund itself. We've had a couple of expenses, CTM Group, which is the rack cards, and Midwest Marketing, which is the maps that we hand out. So we have a final balance as of 8/4/2023 or 8/3/2023 of 79,994.89.
Happy, is the website earmarked out of this account, or is that out of your general revenue?
No, it'll be earmarked down.
Out of this account? Okay. So that's 19,000 or 20,000, or what was that
So I
total?
think what we budgeted, and that's part of what we'll look at, we budgeted about 13.5, because we've only spent a portion of that when we first signed up for Jay Rudney to begin to look over the website. We already made a payment at that point. It's 35 numbers.
But the final total was 19?
19.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming out of this account.
If you approve it.
I don't get to approve anything.
It's TTC.
That's right. Okay.
Any other questions regarding financial report? I would, well, if I may add one comment, I think it's interesting that the total number for this year so far being down slightly from last year. I think that kind of reflects very closely what a lot of the attractions and businesses are experiencing, down slightly from last year at this point. So it's interesting confirmation of what we think is going on. Yes, sir.
I have a question, Jeff. First day on the board, looking at the lodging tax, the number of, you look at April, May, June, and July, and I assume each one of the credits is a lodging establishment that pays into the bed tax, the 2% bed tax. So for the month of April, we had 9 lodging establishments paid into the bed tax. I know you can pay it monthly or you can pay it quarterly. But again, if you look at it, and as many of Airbnbs that we have in town, are we collecting bed tax from the Airbnbs as we are with the hotels and bed and breakfast?
Since those that are outside the business district have to get a special use permit, we know about those. Those that are in the downtown business area, we do again know about those, and we try to track them as best we can. And we require them to get a business license, and with that, we know that they need to be paying their sales tax. So there are incentives, obviously.
I talked to Happy's point, I talked to Sue Swice, and I think there's 29, registered, and she said they all pay. Out of those 29, no one has not paid their bed tax.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
But of course, ones out in the county are not.
Right, no, I get that.
That's an interesting issue to look at some point, which some people like discuss.
Yes.
I'd like to talk about that later, too.
Okay,
Yeah.
then we'll bring that up later. Okay. Any other questions about financial report?
Move to approve.
Oh, there's Pat.
Hey,
I was wondering why the door was locked. Sorry.
okay, we have, moved to approve the financial report. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Public comment? All right. Okay. Given there are no public comments, let's move on to old business. First on the list, Jura Fett. Jim, how'd you guys do during Jura Fett?
I think it was our best year ever with the Jour de Fête. The restaurant was busy, the hotel was busy. We opened up the beer garden, and so looking at it, it was our best year ever. Hats off to the Jour de Fête committee for their hard work, and but I was pleased with it, at least for the Audubon side. And even talking to Jamie and a few other people, like they seem to have a lot more vendors in town than previous years. But at least on our part, we felt that it was very successful, at least for our business.
Ran smoothly as far as you can tell.
We didn't have a power surge, we didn't have a flood, everything went well.
And I think one could argue that had weather been more promising and a little less threatening, it could have been even better. But the inevitable risk of outdoor events.
Is there any objective number of people who attend? Do we have a way of measuring that? We measure parking lots, or we look at trolley rides, or just guesstimates, or how many people do you think were there?
That's a really good question, Pat. There are other events, they do counts and throughput estimates, and I don't know if Jamie and her group do that, but,
And they were meeting last night, so I don't think they've gone through, they didn't have the numbers themselves.
yeah, it would be an interesting question to ask Jamie and see if she would have something to report. But it's, like I say, I think other events, I know that actual physical counts and clickers, and you add it up and do throughput estimates, and you can get a pretty good idea of what's actually going through.
I think the only thing that I heard negatively was that the setup started early on Friday, and that it impeded some of the businesses downtown for that. That's really the only thing I heard
I heard
that
the
was
same thing.
an issue. So, of course, our office got a lot of those phone calls, because we run every event in this town. Don't you know that? You're right. So I just gave him Jamie's number, and I said, I think that's new this year. They've never really started setting up early on Fridays before, have they?
So, our Public Works Department mentioned a few times, well, everybody will start showing up at 2 o'clock, even though they told them 5 o'clock. So, seeing them at noon to 2 o'clock was a little earlier than normal. I don't know how we would stop them from doing that.
Well, I think setting up in front of a business, though, like they asked one family to move their car. Can you move your car? And I think they were having dinner or something someplace. Maybe at Audubon's. I'm
It
not
might have
sure.
been, we didn't ask them to move, we just asked if when they get finished,
Oh,
if they could move their car, if they want to do additional shopping, go ahead and pull in the lot. And one lady was handicapped, and I helped her to the car,
yeah.
so that might have been.
That might have been. I'm not sure. She didn't say that she was.
None of us seemed to be upset. I didn't realize it was going to be at 3,
Yeah.
whatever time early, but normally it's a little later, so.
Yeah, I couldn't even get hardly down to the post office to drop off our license office shipment before the end of the day, and it was like bobbing and weaving through everybody. I was a little nervous, but
I don't know if it's the anxiousness of the vendor, why they're there that early, but it seemed to be very, very adamant about getting as early as possible. I think it used to be 5 o'clock,
yeah. But if our streets are not closed off,
and they're not.
then they should not be setting up. That's my opinion.
So
I
they're
mean,
supposed to close at 2. However, it didn't get done.
Oh, I see.
So I think that was part of the problem.
Okay.
But then again, some people would show up.
The streets were supposed to close at 2?
Oh, wow. But I agree, that was.
I didn't see anything on that, so that was news to me. I was kind of surprised by it. But, so maybe for them next year, a little bit more advertisement that, hey, this might happen. You know, so businesses are prepared. Might be a good suggestion.
Don't those people have to check in somewhere?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So why,
to check in at the,
so why are they able to set up that early?
The Union Hall. Yeah.
You know?
I think they rolled out.
Yeah. They were checking in at the Union Hall. Up there at like Goose Lake.
Yeah, well, I saw the signs checking
Yeah.
here somewhere, I couldn't know what it was, but
Yeah.
they can't check in until.
Right.
Why are you setting up the thing?
Right. Exactly.
That sounds like the pure
Yeah.
thing they need to take care of.
Well, especially like that
Yeah.
that whole block from like the center all the way down to Main Street, that was ridiculous. You could hardly get through there. So, and then especially, you know, it's a one-way street. So then you got to go back up to the post office. That's one way too. So then it was just, it wasn't a good thing.
Yeah.
So made it complicated.
Who would Matthew, would you be appropriate person to share comments with Cynthia and Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk. Yeah, okay. Upcoming events. Civil War reenactment, which, I don't know if anyone here has any connection with that event. I do not.
Is that this weekend?
that's this weekend.
Yeah, that's this
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah,
So Bob Mueller and his group usually
right,
ones that run that.
right. Like Gary Shield and those guys. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll be fine. Oktoberfest.
So it comes up in September. Are you guys kind of spearheading that?
There is a committee, it's not sponsored by the Audubons,
Yeah.
but there is a committee. Brian Kimes is on the committee. I want to say it's the 18th and 19th, whatever that.
17th and 18th.
It's
right?
16
What-
or 17.
Okay, I know it's,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's that weekend.
yes,
It's the 16th and 17th.
16th, 17th,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Which is also the weekend of the history conference, I believe.
It's the,
And I might even be there's a Valley Homecoming or something too. It's going to be I just found that out today.
yeah.
So
And the Backstoppers golf tournament is that Friday.
it'll be busy.
It's going to be a busy weekend.
Well, good. Get people in and out and doing a lot of things.
Okay, and then the last thing on this list here for upcoming month is the Voyager Rendezvous, which is on September 9th. That's a fundraising event that's happening at the Bolduc and Lumiere houses in the yards behind there. They're currently selling tickets online. It's $125 a person, but there's going to be a lot of fun stuff that goes with it. But it is a fundraiser, and we got the street closure into you in time?
Yep.
Okay, thank you for handling
I
that.
think that's tomorrow night we decide on it.
Okay, apologize, I did not bring the flyers with me about it, but if you are interested, give us a call or come down to the museum and grab one of the flyers.
What's the date again, Jeff?
It is
9/9.
September the 9th. And Jim, I think some of the folks may have already made reservations with you for.
So what is the fundraiser for $125? Is it-
I'm glad you asked, Patrick. They-
You told
For
me.
$125, it's going to be from 4:30 to 8. There will be food historian Suzanne Corbett is putting together a grazing buffet kind of dinner, including a roast suckling pig. There'll be wine, beer, hard cider, And performance by a gentleman who does a one-man play as Louis Joliet, the explorer. We'll have some of our living history folks at work. There will be a Baroque guitarist that we got through the Early Music Society is going to be performing. And the one thing, I mentioned that because we are going to have to close Main between Market and Gabourey because people will be going back and forth between the houses on the west side of the street over to Linden House to use the restrooms and possibly do some activities over there. And we'll have handicap parking that will take care of parking out. We got plenty of money to on the south side of Market, but Market will stay open all the way through. So,
Is it sit-down dining, or do you eat standing up?
well, there will be some tables, but it'll be more like, yes, grazing. And it's not a formal dinner.
And how many people are you expecting that would be?
Probably 100 to 150.
Are they local mostly, or do you think you're here in St. Louis people?
A lot of them are coming down from St. Louis and some from Chicago, the French Heritage Society. Some locals, but I know I've already expressed interest, but stop by, we can fly.
Yeah,
They,
we're coming.
Okay. Other questions about upcoming events in September or things that we have missed?
Jeff, I just want to mention that the chamber's recently been asked to look into doing something with the eclipse in April. I think that's April 8th, 2024. We're going to have a preliminary meeting on September 6th at noon. If anybody is interested in just coming and listening, I have no idea what all that entails. But I do know that we've been asked to participate like we did last time. So we'll see what really they're asking of us. And well, apparently I am. So the Dick Reminger and Robert Wilk came and asked if we would be interested in forming like a task force, kind of, so to speak, to get something in the works. I'm not sure if our previous tourism director had anything lined up. So if she did, I'd like to see. Oh, she didn't? Okay.
She was looking at joining the other eclipse.
Yeah.
Not looking at the Zoom chat that they have in the book,
Yeah.
but that was all that she had been doing, and I know it is.
Okay. So, I mean, obviously we don't want to miss the boat on that.
Right.
We're in the line of totality. So that would be something that I feel like the businesses should maybe participate in. At what level, I don't know. So maybe we can formulate some kind of a plan. I
Is it
know
noon?
that's going to be at noon at the
Your
chamber
office?
office.
In the date again?
9/6. Yeah, September 6th. And if I have enough interest of people who want to attend, then I might look at moving it to the community center for some ideas. But we'll see. I don't know.
Did we do anything formal with the last eclipse years ago?
The chamber did. We actually we rented that big grand stage in the center of DeBerg and 3rd Street. We put that big main stage there, and we had music the night before all day long. And then there was like food trucks or food vendors, not food trucks, food vendors and beer vendors. I think there was some other people that had some like stands set up. And then there was like a big thing out at the community center before the Progress Sports Complex was built. So I don't know if that's something that we can, I don't
There
know.
was a pretty big turnout for that, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. So I do know that our neighbors in Perryville have like a lot of stuff going on that day. So if I can keep people from going down there, I will. But if not, I'll encourage them. I mean, if we don't have anything going, then obviously, yeah, go support them. But if we're going to do something, which we'd be silly not to, I believe, then we need to keep them here.
There's a lot of interest. I've had 4 phone calls looking to book the entire place
Yes.
for 3 nights around that thing. 4 different individuals. So, and I finalized it 3 months ago.
I believe that. So this would be the Sunday before the eclipse. The eclipse is on a Monday. This would be all the activity would happen the Sunday before, like it did the last time we did this. I think it was what 2017. Was that the last one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we can do and what we can work out. And on. So yeah.
So that you're aware, you'll recall also that in 2017, SCA did a fundraiser event in the yard behind Genevieve. They are looking at doing something similar again, but it would be a ticketed event with food, another fundraiser. But that would be the one during the day of.
Okay. So you should probably send somebody to that meeting. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I do, also too, the line of totality, it's going through St. Genevieve, Perry, all that stuff too. But when we did this in 2017, we partnered with the hospital and I'm trying to remember who else. We partnered with
Sponsored the,
somebody else, the glasses, and we gave all the glasses to the school district. So every kid got to go home with a pair of the Eclipse glasses. The hospital, I don't remember who the other person was, but anyways, it was very worthwhile event. So potentially looking at that again. And I know the city was very involved with that with us. Sandra was on board at the time, so I would hope that we'd have the city and the county support it and on some level.
I guess the students would be in school that day on that front.
I actually think that I think they're closed.
Oh, they are gonna
I think
close?
so. Yeah. Yeah, they had it built into their calendar, I believe. So, but they actually take the glasses home with them. So.
4 years ago, whatever that was, 17, people complained about the lack of food availability. Restaurants closed, maybe it was on a Sunday or something, and restaurants that were open ran out of food. So there's going to be, I predict, to be thousands of people in town.
We were open. I wasn't there, but we were open.
Yeah. But anyway, I think that we really have to gear up.
It was crazy from what I was told.
I talked to a couple of Airbnb owners, and their place already rented out as well for the eclipse, and that's been months ago. So I guarantee there probably is not going to be any lodging in this community. So just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that, so we could
When is the meeting again?
September 6th at noon at the chamber office, unless it gets too big, and then I'll move it to a different.
We need to RSVP that to know.
I think so. That'd be great, because I can only fit about 15 people comfortably in my office.
So if you're charging for 3 nights, are you actually going to charge for 4 since you have another night?
Of course,
Yeah.
double bill, actually.
What day is the eclipse?
April 8th. It's a Monday, I believe. So all the events,
We're booked already.
yeah. So all the events would be for us would be April 7th, because the eclipse is literally what 30 seconds or something like that.
2 minutes this year.
Oh, is it? Okay. So, anyways, we'll do we're looking at doing possibly the same thing.
I can see using the parking lot out, but there's only some no parking lots actually. All 4 years.
Sure.
And the parking lots. Sky's parking is just not used for anything else.
Right.
It's dry ground.
Right.
So,
Right. Okay.
Okay, anything else about upcoming events? All right, bus tour with Perryville.
It included what we sent to the bus tour group that we had already signed up for this, so I'm just keeping on and pursuing it, working with Tristan's help from Perryville. She was very helpful in helping me set this up and what we needed to send to them and the information. So I just kind of included what that information was that I sent. And then on the last page of that 4-page deal is what we set up as a potential tour for St. Genevieve for the day. Then there would be a night at Perryville, come back, spend another half a day here, and then go down to Perryville for a day and a half. But I wanted to give you an idea of what that looks like. They can change it up because we've given them a lot of information about other potential areas to tour. But this is kind of what we came up with, what we know is open, what we know is available, and would be easy for them to get around from point to point.
And Happy, they're staying in Perryville, correct?
That's what we're saying at this point, because we're looking at 20 to 40 people at a time, and to spread them out to a number of different places. At this point, we just don't have the wherewithal to coordinate that.
And what day is this?
It's whenever. This is what it is.
Oh.
We're advertising, and then the bus tour folks can see where these different tours are, because there's a number of groups that then coordinate kind of the same thing, a couple of cities. And then they have, this is what they can do, and trying to interest them in this or little modifications. But then they have to at least talk to the different organizations to coordinate when they're going to be there and what they're going to see, how long, if there's going to be lunch, where they need to coordinate having a meeting room or where they're going to eat.
So the specific bus company that is offering this as one of their products is essentially doing their own marketing of this. Any indication of how they go about that or what they're trying to do to promote it?
If there's a magazine that goes out from this group, Revere, I can't remember the other part of the name. I did talk to Trish today. She said they haven't had any negative feedback from them. They've accepted what we've sent them, so they're just moving along. As soon as they coordinate that with what those bus companies are, I think they do the marketing, this group does the marketing, and then the bus companies will buy.
Okay, and then the bus company will contact, when they set up a tour, they will contact the destinations to schedule times and, okay.
Yeah, so like with NPS, I know they can handle a few people, but they can't handle 40 people at a time. I know you guys can't handle that. So unless you
Well, we
split
can
them
if we
up,
split them
you can
up,
split them
yeah.
up. But you got to know ahead of time, so you know how to
Right.
coordinate that. So the same thing with the Park Service.
Can we not, Microtel can't house 20 to 40 people?
We've given them the information on Microtel. Microtel is very busy with the various businesses that are around here, like Wholesome and Mississippi Line. They're booked.
Okay.
So, reserving that for enough people, reserving that for enough rooms for people could be difficult.
I'm just trying to understand why we're sending people to Perryville, and I get it.
Yeah.
We're going to make $10 and they're going to make $500 off of this,
I think, and I don't have an answer, but I mean, I think Tamlin was looking to try to market St. Gen and get with like Perryville in this situation, at least draw something, have some bus tours coming here that she, I think she felt like St. Genevieve wasn't a good enough destination to be able to house people overnight with these 30 or 40 or 50 people groups. So this was an opportunity. Perryville came to her and she I guess she kind of jumped at the opportunity to try to, start this as I don't know if it's good or bad. I just think that's kind of how it worked out, is that Perryville came to us, I think, with this idea, and Tamlin started running with it.
I think we did this in 2015, 2016. I don't know how successful it was. But I did see we had used this company before, or advertised with them before. So, and I know that's been one of the things I've heard is we need more bus trips and more traffic from the boats or whatever, bring the buses over. So this is the start.
And when would this be in place?
I don't know exactly. It's whenever they're gonna do their publication, which I'm assuming is in the fall.
So we're looking at next year. Okay. All right. Any other old business? On to new business, the budget.
We have before you a spreadsheet on what we've kind of talked about and presented on the budget itself, on what our expenditures could be next year. This can change as we go along, but we are adopting 40,000 as part of the overall budget for the city. But to break this down, it gives me a little leeway as to if I'm going to do some more maps, I know where I can pull the money out of. If we're going to continue to do rack cards, I know where to pull the money out of. So we've got, we had talked originally about doing a new design on the visitor guide. That's a one-time cost of 5,000. The downtown maps, that is a recurring cost at this point. So once we would finish with a new design, and we could print off the new map, but we still have maps to print, so we're figuring 1,500 to continue printing those. Print media, that was brought up at the last meeting. Let's make sure we put some print media in there, so that's 1,500. St. John Trolley, we sponsored the trolley, and that's yearly of $500. Festivals, if you want to, assist in any way, highlighting sure to fit French heritage in that, but that could be all the festivals. It's the kind of discussion of if you want to do some sponsorships of the individual festivals, then there could be a flat amount that you want to participate with. You could have groups come before you and say, here's what we need in the way of marketing. And that's what I think you really want that fund to go towards, is marketing those events. So if it's going to be Gottapalooza, if it's going to be the Honey Festival, and they want some extra marketing money to put out there, so whether it's on Facebook, on the web, whatever, or even on terrestrial radio, TV, here's some funds that you can use for that to bring the tourists in for these festivals.
Happy. While we're on that topic, so we were in the process of creating a form that those organizations had to fill out to apply for said money.
So we've not gotten to that point yet. You'll have the chance to look at that.
Yeah, because I think that they have to fill something out for the request, or
There has
else,
to
I
be
mean,
a system. It has to be transparent. There has to be.
well, and they
Well,
can't
yeah.
come in and ask for $5,000. You know what I mean? There has to be a,
Right, but we have to get the money. Well, I'm looking at this point, getting the money from.
no, I get that. I'm just saying, but you dropped it from 11,000 to 7,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
We put more money into print.
Print media, okay.
Oh, and I also took money out because we have rack cards. So that's the rack cards we have sitting in the hotel motels, about 44.55 and I-7. So those we continue to print, and we have to pay a monthly fee for those.
So that 11,000 that you had before, maybe about 2,500 went to rack cards and 1,500 went up to print media.
Well, print media was taken out completely
Yeah.
in the original. So
Yeah, there wasn't anything in print media, so we redistributed the print and put the rest in for rack cards, because we hadn't put the rack cards in. It needed to be in, if this is the group that pays for the rack cards. Yeah. And then it's up.
And that's reimbursable under the co-op grant. The rack one's not?
The rack one.
Oh, okay.
But is that also going under a redesign, the rack card, or do we just do a redesign on that?
We just did one, we can do it.
I was just curious, I didn't
No, I
know.
hadn't thought of that. We may reprint that, we just don't.
Okay.
Does any of this money co-op, can be used with the co-op for 50% reimbursement?
So the co-op comes out of the general fund, which is, so it's 50/50 coming out of that. So this isn't co-op, or isn't dedicated to any of the co-op that we get from the state.
From the state, it's not.
We could do that, but at this point, we're budgeting 35,000 of the 70,000 that we don't spend, which is 35,000 state money.
Okay.
All right, also the website, maintenance of that, we've already spent some this year, out of this budget year, so I budgeted 15.5 for the rest of J. Rudney to continue. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that you don't see that they're doing that we really needed. So I'm glad to see they're doing that. You'll notice on our events calendar, it's changed. None of us could figure out how to make it work. They did. They also reduced the amount that we're spending on the events calendar from, I think, $6.59 down to $99 a year. So they're going to help pay off what we're paying them to maintain. And they're keeping everything up to date, and they don't have to do updates on the individual modules. We'll continue to work on it and try to improve the look. We've kind of discussed that, but at this point, we're just doing what's behind the scenes. And the visit widget, this was an additional part of the visit widget, which was the trip plan that will go on the website. So we're looking at from the general fund, the visit widget, if the board, or I'm sorry, not the board, if the new tourism director wants to continue with that pursuit. Because the board discussed that they didn't want to force this on whoever the new tourism director is. But we want to at least keep the money in there in case there is a digital type of system that they want to put in place to help people organize their trips to St. Genevieve. And then this was something else to put on the website to also help.
Yeah, but, so like on that, given that, yeah, like there are less expensive alternatives out there if the person wants to do it. So there would be flexibility to perhaps shift some of the money into like more advertising or more promotion of, you're not locked in necessarily with the, guidelines rather than a set of marching orders.
Some of this will stay what the numbers are because I have expenses coming up in the next year.
Okay. But
Others of this, yeah, it's flexible, but we can make adjustments. We're not going to be wed something particular.
with that on the thing, my observation looking at this, the one thing that I am particular, I'm relieved to hear that because some flexibility on things like the trip planner, as I said, there are alternatives. That, but like cutting the reduction in the event money, Joe, that when the aldermen were discussing budget, we had a work session recently. Was there concern about reducing things like that, or making sure we have enough to promote what we got here, this product?
I think we came to a pretty good agreement, compromise at our budget session last week. There was a little bit taken out of the digital services, I guess marketing. I don't know what all would fall under digital services, but you know, some of the social media posts and some of the other marketing ideas. So the salary of the position, I think, actually increased with the step study that we did with an outside company. So I think we're able to potentially hire somebody at a higher range, hopefully with some better abilities to kind of manage all the different tasks that this person has. So, you know, it's not just a marketing role, it's not just a management role. You know, there's lots of PR things and all the different hats that you got to wear. So I think we're doing a great benefit to that person. The full-time assistant kind of got axed. Well, that was kind of a compromise, but we kept him on as a part-time person. So the new tourism director could potentially get an assistant on a part-time position, position, and also they could also the other time they could maybe fill in as a welcome center attendant. So it could be full-time, but we're going to kind of leave that up to Happy and his to figure out how we're going to make that position a hybrid position. That digital assistant to the tourism director will be part-time, but we also still short a couple welcome center attendants as well. So we're trying to figure out, you know, how best to support the new tourism director and get the welcome center staff. So to those things, I think that worked out, I think, really well in the budget. the visit widget, I think some of the board was really on board with that. They gave a presentation at a work session, and I think some of the board members really liked it. I think other people were like hit or miss, and so we kept that line item in the budget just for that. And then if we need to, the new tourism director wants to go a different route or a different company, or at least the funds are there that they can use that for marketing.
And there is, they have to set some flexibility, so that
Yep. So that stayed in there. And then just really, so for the most part, we kept the funding the same out of the general fund, the same except minus that $2,000 in digital services. We cut that out of there with the digital services. So
We actually put that back in. That was one of the concerns, is that we're cutting that. So we put that back in, compromised on the position from a full-time assistant to a part-time assistant, and we made it balance out that.
okay,
I
good.
think that's what the board was.
I was trying to read the amendment, and so okay, well then that's great. I'm trying to think what your original question. If I answered your original question,
Yeah.
I started.
Well, I think
I don't think
got
you
it.
answered it.
Yeah.
So you still have what's in the general fund is, you have money for the matching money for the state. And then we have some extra marketing money that we can utilize for off-the-cuff type stuff. that we need to- So it remains the same as it has in this past.
Other questions or thoughts on the budget?
And that's I would kind of want to hold that up to the board, kind of see, or the committee, kind of see what they felt like. We've talked about the high amount of turnover we've had in this position. We had the same discussion kind of at the city council meeting. And are we doing enough to make this position more successful going forward? I don't know. I don't know if we actually have like exit interviews with any departing staff, and kind of see, what there. Sometimes you can get some valuable information from somebody that's leaving your team, but
She gave one to the Herald.
she, in a way, she did a public exit interview, yeah. And so that's my question: are we doing enough to set this person up for success, or are we kind of repeating some of the same pitfalls that we had tonight? So while we were going through the budget tonight, I thought that might be a good time to discuss, what we're doing for this person going forward. I want to give them all the tools and all the support that we can. This is supposed to be I hate to say it, a moneymaker for the city. When you invest in tourism, it's supposed to be making money back for the businesses and for the city that it's putting the bill for this. So I don't know what maybe people's thoughts are on that.
Happy, do we do exit interviews?
No.
No.
So some of the, I guess my question is, what were some of the things that we think the last few tourism directors had hurdles on and that we could alleviate going forward? And can it be reflected in a budget topic that we're talking about right now?
We covered one, which is a special assistant. That was what we'd heard from Toby and Jeff, and also Tanner, that same thing. So we know that's an issue and something that needed to be brought forward.
And I don't know if a job description was ever, quote, created for
Yeah,
that.
there's a job description.
Yes,
A committee,
Oh, great.
TICTTC committee came up with that job description for marketing.
I assume it's mostly social media and marketing efforts on, on the kind of the
That's
digital
pretty
side.
lengthy.
Yeah.
I don't have it with me.
Well, and I think one of the problems that I talked with a number of people about was lack of a marketing plan. And where in what the budget is creating are there opportunities for, well, first of all, marketing plan has to kind of happen before you do stuff, plan, do, but if there was an opportunity to perhaps get some contracted help for the marketing director, or marketing director. That's what the tourism director is. It's a marketing director, let's be honest. And getting a plan is, where would that fit in?
So one of the things that Tantalin put in for was a marketing plan as part of the state matching funds. So we have 20,000 dedicated, 10,000 from the state, 10,000 from the city to help find a company to do the marketing plan, put that together, and then bring it to the TACTTC for approval. So that's in the works. That'll be one of the things that person will have to work on.
Fine, putting that out for,
RFQ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would be a priority.
Yeah.
Okay.
what do you think that turnaround time on that would be to issue that and get a couple solicitations back and,
We're looking at at
Couple
least
months?
60 days, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Because you have to kind of come out with what you're gonna,
And you gotta have your interviews, figure out what the priorities are, and then start drafting. Now, Dina has shared with us the past marketing plan that gives somebody a head start. Say, here's what happened back in 16, 17.
13.
Yeah.
12,
So that's a few
13.
years back. But that's a start for somebody to look at that and say, okay, from here, how do we want to change this? How do we want to address this? So I suspect there's going to be a meeting or two with this group to discuss that. Maybe it's a meeting, but it will be a meeting nonetheless that gets ordered into that. Because that's what this group is doing. And I think that's another thing that helps that person that's coming in to be successful, to put that plan in place. Because we haven't had that, haven't had that opportunity of our past directors putting that in place first before doing anything else.
I mean, having an outside company put together a marketing plan with them, so that's some professional help to put together a plan. I think that's going to be a big help, to that person. And if we get the majority of the board, of course, to sign off on it and approve it, then you think a lot of people are on the same page going forward with the vision of that, of that plan. So,
So what, we need to send this out prior to having it directors, what you're saying.
I don't know if we could. I think the director is going to have to kind of set up the RFP to send out to a couple marketing firms. So I think we almost, unless we want to try to task Happy with it, and I don't, as a city council, as a committee member, I want to task whoever I can. But as a city council member, I'm like, I don't want to put more on his plate. So I don't know if we can send it out to bid without having somebody put together a whole plan. They can use the old one as a template, to kind of go off of. But and I don't know if that the tourism director has to come back and even kind of get input from us before they send it out. I don't. Where would that fall
We
in?
could do it in-house on staff, and I kind of see what you're saying. We could probably,
I would love to see that.
we could kind of coordinate when that hire would take place. We could send it out and start getting some responses back on qualifications, and then with the hiring of the tourism director, say, here you go, here's the potentials, look through these, see what you think. Because we've already done, the part of putting it together and getting it sent out. And then that person can then choose the company or work with TACTC to choose that company. The Board of Aldermen will make a final decision on contract.
It just seemed like, this is only my third meeting, I missed the second one, but it seemed like nobody knew where we were going. We're kind of all over the place. There was questions asked and there was no answers. So if we had a direction to go before a person says, I want this job, that would make way more sense.
We kind of have to do the interview process where it's like, what are we doing? What do I have as my support? And what is my support system? So, we have that in place to say, here's what we've got coming up. We know what we've contracted with the state for the matching funds. We know there's certain amounts of money we're going to spend on marketing over the next year. We know what we have here as part of that marketing fund. We want to do a marketing plan. That person can step into the job and not have to worry about putting a marketing plan together. Because the last two have had to worry about that. They just never got around to it.
Have you started advertising for that position?
Starts tomorrow. Yes.
Where?
It's going to be in Herald to start with, and then the local folks an opportunity first. We're going to put it on the MML website for anybody that's within the city, because that's one of the things I think people understanding how the city works. And then we'll put it on Indeed. That's what we went through last time. I'm not sure how well that works, but that'll get it out to a larger audience.
Okay.
So I'm kind of doing it in stages, trying to give folks along the way a chance first. There might be somebody who's qualified to do it, to do this, even will be willing to step into this position. But we've done the Indeed and ZipRecruiter and all that. And that's what happened the last couple of months.
Did you identify a pay scale
Yes.
on that?
Yep.
And it was,
So we're going
Higher?
to starting pay at 54 to 60,000 and up to, but the cap is 74,000.
the cap is 74?
This is based on our salary study that the city did recently.
What are the minimum requirements?
Without a job description in front of me, I can tell you.
They're
So,
complex.
no. I mean, it's going to be a high school degree. I'm not sure if it's
High
a
school.
college degree or not.
I think it was a bachelor's in
I
marketing
think
maybe
it
in
should
that.
have-
But what we'll say usually is bachelor's degree
Or
and
equivalent.
or,
Yeah.
if you have enough experience, we'll consider that as well. They don't have to live in town. We did remote, but we'll do remote with the next person. It's always depends on the individual.
I don't think that's a good idea. I think that was one of the things I heard the most is that they were never visible. Never seen them. So I think you have to have somebody in town. You have to have somebody here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.
Somebody with a driver's license. I mean, it's not extensive.
Driver's license. What's the world coming to?
Somebody who's legal.
You say that, but you always have to check.
You know someone, Pat?
I can get you a copy of the job description if you want it.
Yeah, sure.
You should probably send it out to everyone. I would think, the whole committee. It hasn't changed since we redid it, right?
I think it sounds like the big change is the salary.
I mean, that's gonna be enticing to maybe,
Well, and that
Get a
high
better
range, that
candidate.
72 or 74, that's with years in service, and so I mean that's not a starting salary. That
no, it said cap.
yeah,
It
yeah.
said cap.
But so it's still at 60. And again, like I say, with the prospect of having a plan, getting in place early on in the person's tenure would make, I think, a huge difference not only for that person, but also for us, being able to assess what's going on, and how well the person's doing. And,
Save them a couple months of getting started up and already knowing have a couple things that have to be done.
But I do also want to kind of second some of what Joe was saying about, the last couple of people, we had Happy did really remarkable work in stepping in and trying to make things work and blah, Mr. Humility here, but you really made an effort to try to make things work and we really stepped in a lot. But let's be honest, you're the city manager. You got other things to do. So having somebody that can hit the ground running and with some guidance, with a framework and a set of goals, I think would be more productive for everyone.
I have a question. Did you say that the job description that you have for this person is already written? And it's the same job description that you had for the previous person? So why didn't that previous person that had the job description, what happened? I mean, did she not follow or couldn't meet the job? What's going to be different about the next person that's hired versus the one that we had, if it's the same job description, unless she just didn't do what the job description explained. So is there a difference? The new person coming in, is it going to echo or duplicate what the person before, Tana Lynn? Is it going to be the same job description that she had? And then what would be the difference for the new person?
Just remember, she left us. It wasn't anything that we did, and it wasn't a performance review.
Okay.
She felt that she wasn't supported by the community or by the city, and went back into private business.
Okay. So what she did, we, since I wasn't on the board then, and know very little about her, but were you happy with what she was doing or not?
So there, you're getting into a personnel.
Okay,
issue.
no, I'm not asking about personal, I'm asking about her job performance. Was her job performance, did it meet your expectations?
Well, personnel.
And
Well, I mean,
I guess maybe I'll ask it a different way.
Can the committee answer that question?
I think you all have, you all dealt with her as a careful staff. I'm looking at it, I was a supervisor, so I have to be careful with what I say.
Yeah, I'll ask it a different way for him. Would you change the job description?
No.
No, we just changed it. That was it.
Does that help to answer?
Negotiation.
okay. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see that, you're gonna send out the job description, okay.
You want my perspective of it, Jim? Because she didn't work for me. But, I mean, in all fairness, she was great on paper and she interviewed very, very well. And I had very high hopes that I was on that hiring panel. And I thought she was my number one pick. I think she was most of our number one picks. I think she got in here and she was in the private sector for so long, she didn't know or maybe understand what we were really asking of her. So maybe we overloaded her quite a bit with our expectation and she couldn't fulfill it. And maybe it was a little daunting for her because honestly, it was a lot. It really was a lot that we were asking of her to do. But I also think that her resume, wow, got really quiet. Her resume was maybe a little bit more fluffier than what when she got here. I think it was a little bit more, and that's just my personal opinion, obviously. But I do think that for us, we probably had a lot of high expectation coming right out the gate.
But she wasn't required to be here 5 days a week. That person could work remotely from home.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking for somebody working remotely from home is not going to be visiting shops, talking to people and finding out what's going on. So I go back to the question, are we going to change it? Are you going to allow them, then you'll make it a 5-day, that she'll be on site, or this person will be on site.
Well, and I also think too that I don't want to say that we were like hard up, but we had been without a director for so long. And so the promise of having one here, whether it was 3 days a week or 5 days a week.
You were just glad to have somebody.
We were just glad to have someone.
Sure.
Well, then the 3 days a week turned out to maybe 1 day or 2 days a week. And so it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like me now, my preference would be 5 days a week.
Yeah.
You have to have somebody here in those shops, in those businesses, in the restaurants, working with those owners and in the city, in the committee to put this plan into place
Okay.
and execute it.
So the thought was because we're looking at marketing, it's more digital anyway, it's kind of talk to people, you're on the phone, you're on the computer. So working remotely wasn't going to be an issue, but I think there was just a time issue and what the community perceived. And I don't blame her on what that was because she was putting her efforts in one area and there was also this desire to have her in a different area. So
I think we should keep an open mind to the some working at home. I don't think it's absolutely necessary. The right person could make it work. I think it could work.
They could
And
have
ma- and-
still here in the community,
Yeah,
invisible.
maybe that's just 1 day a week at home. Maybe it's just 2. I don't know what that is for that. Depends on who.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I
if they're
think,
here for a weekend festival and they want to take off Wednesday or Thursday, yeah, great. I understand that because they're working the weekend too, but they have to have a presence. I mean,
Well, sure, they have to know who we are so they
right,
can.
right.
but, and I would agree that, because a big part of this is not just making rounds every day, seeing the same people downtown. It is this projection of how are we going to attract people from St. Louis? How are we going to know what is the market up in St. Louis? You can't spend all your time in St. Genevieve.
Right.
So I think it's got to be a combination of somebody who has vision, contacts, ability to connect with the areas that we want to draw people to, plus have the visibility here.
But the first part of that is getting to know your business and how you're going to promote them to those outside people in St. Louis.
Sure, but you
What-
don't need
what's
to be
gonna-
here every,
But for the first 6 months,
maybe.
I mean,
I don't know what that,
Promote business. Are we promoting St. Genevieve? Or are we promoting
well,
the
I mean,
local
promote,
business?
like, why would I want to come stay at the Main Street Inn if I've never been here? So that's her job to get to know, what do you have to offer to these people in St. Louis or surrounding counties and different
Yeah.
things like that?
And
Right, well,
if I may, that kind of goes back to one of our other topics for conversation tonight, with where we ask people to submit their perspectives on what the strengths of St. Genevieve is as a total package, as a product. Because, as you say, to sell the product, you got to understand the product. And this is a really remarkable, special place that I think back to the point about finding that balance of getting to understand it and then knowing how to connect with people outside of the immediate area is a really good way of trying to get this person focused in a useful direction. But I think we need, unless there are other comments about the budget, do we need, is there any further discussion about the budget itself? Then do we have a motion for approval?
This has to be a TATC member, not TAC.
Yeah, your TTC, Matt. You, Jim, and Joe.
Am I a voting?
I know you're not a voting.
I don't know if I'm
You're
a
not,
voting.
sorry.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I don't think.
Just the three gentlemen.
I will make, am I allowed to make a motion?
Oh, and
Or
Nicole.
we have Nicole?
She's eating a pretzel.
Yeah.
Chocolate covered.
It's,
This is my stomach on my background.
Nicole, any comments? Or do you want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve it. Otherwise, we're just gonna sit here and keep debating things.
Yeah, do we have a second? Good. We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Any opposed? Okay. We already, the strengths of St. Gen, I know there's a version of this already in your materials that have been distributed, but I do also have this version if you want to pass that around, that who said what we have so far. And again, the thing I want to point out, when we started this process, the goal, we don't need to talk about what the strengths are right now. Again, the key thing, this is a wonderful, remarkable product, but you take St. Genevieve as a whole, there is nothing quite like it in the market. And it has a wide variety of strengths that could help the tourism and marketing director to sell this product, to make people outside of this area aware of what they could access here. And if there are, I know not all of you have had the chance to contribute anything to this. This is what we have so far. And as I have made clear, I think, this isn't for us. This is for the marketing director, tourism director. And this is, and also would fit into helping with shaping the marketing plan. So I would encourage you to send, if you have thoughts you would like to share, you can send it, yeah, you can send it to me and I'll pull it together. But this is something that I wish we had done initially for some of the other people to help them to understand what's going on here, and that it's not just another place with old houses. It's not another architectural petting zoo. So, thoughts, comments? Thank you. I'm good.
Oh, I think that's,
Friendship for you.
no,
All right.
that's too me. That's it.
Other business. Okay, time for my other business?
Yeah.
All right. Joe, you had something else you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, so I've been talking to a few people about the idea of putting a proposal together to go to the county commissioners. Right now, the city only has the bed tax that brings in roughly about 30 grand a year. And so I think it might be time to consider taking a proposal to the county commissioners and sending that bed tax countywide. They want something in their hands, tangible, so they want, some type of proposal. They would like to get it on a November ballot, because then they don't have to pay for any initiative on the ballot. So I think that would be something. I don't know if it could get done in time for this November or not. I don't know.
What's involved in it?
I've never put a ballot initiative together, so I don't know. And then also we'd have
Who
to.
can guide us through that?
Well, like Sue Wolk is the one that takes care of our ballot for county. So, but when I called to talk to her, she's like, I want to make sure I get this right. So I think we start with the county commissioners and Sue Wolk down there, and they're, so I don't know exactly. This is just kind of spitballing and getting some things started on this idea.
If you're
So
talking this November,
I don't know if it's possible. So and I'm not talking about, I just want to talk about the concept. I don't know if it's possible for this election, because if you put it in April, then it's going to be a cost to the county to put that on a ballot this year. They want to try to avoid that.
So I think November's not here this year. Could be the presidential election next year, so I'm not sure if they're gonna have a November ballot this year.
Okay.
Oh, so there's more time.
Yeah. So it might be.
That's a little bit more of a relief.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Not a bad thing.
Because we are
14
hosting this year, and it's been City Hall for obvious reasons. And if this is the year that it actually worked out, we've been a presidential year with a complicated. But anyway,
Yeah. So I just want to kind of open that up for thoughts about that. I talked to Linda Wagner. She said they have about the same amount of lodging establishments in the county as we do here. It's roughly about 30. She told me the number was a couple weeks ago, but we have 29 in the city, and they have about 30 in the county.
In the county, it's Airbnb.
Mostly, I don't know if there's any hotels. I don't think there would be anything, because the Zora one is not operating. So,
So they're Airbnb.
so I would think they would almost
There's 20 or 30, you think, out there,
Uh,
similar number
in
in
the
town.
30s. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the 30s.
I don't know what Sean is.
That number seems a little.
Oh, good point.
To me.
I think they just opened up their 18 villa.
She might have said 39.
I saw that. I read that someplace just
I
recently.
think that's not an Airbnb.
No, it's, yeah.
Yeah. So, again, it'd be a crapshoot to try to say what that revenue would generate, because you don't know how often they're renting them out. You don't know their rates. You don't know if they would all report. Sue here in city says that all of the ones that she has do report and submit their taxes. But it would be, and I think most the two commissioners that I did talk to with were enthusiastic about it. In fact, that it would be something that they would promote in a way that they want to make sure that people know that this is a tax on tourism and on the guests and the visitors. to
Out of
county.
dollars, yeah.
Yeah, and it's outside dollars, and so I wanted to kind of bring that up here to see if it's something that the board, the committee would like to pursue. The goal then would be, let's just say it brings in 30 grand. what to do with that pot of money, right? So we'd also have to ask the commissioners if they would have a partnership with us where our tourism director has discretion to spend those funds, or how they would want to do it, because the money would go to the county and they could do with it however they want. So we could propose this idea and then they'd have 30
Keep the
grand
money.
and use it, put it in general funds. I would think it would probably, I don't know, a special tax might be a dedicated fund.
That would be, if you had to have a TTC for the county as well,
Yeah.
as what we have for the city. I think that's when we start talking like a CVB.
Yeah.
And that type of setup, where it's a group effort for tourism instead of just the city revenue. And we contribute, they contribute, and that's what's, that's marketing for the city. So,
And I don't know if we're quite there yet to set up a CVB, but in the meantime,
but I mean, that's part of that conversation.
yeah. Because if you're setting up a whole separate entity and having paid staff, it's a big, what do we do with our tourism director and how does that all fit? Do we, give up that employee and then, the CVB then supports them and pays them, a director of the CVB or whatever it might be. Makes sense, but I think we're a year or two away from even,
We have a board that's oversees that group too, so.
in the meantime, if we want, and this was, again, it goes back to getting this new city tourism director some tools, because if we open it up with a county tax, bed tax, then they can start cross-promoting both county and city. Because right now, a city entity, whether it's a business or a nonprofit, they have some questions about, I don't necessarily want you to, spend marketing dollars on promoting things outside the city, because that's where these taxes are coming from, lodging taxes in the city. But it does make it a more appealing, call to action when you're promoting the whole county and all the different things that we have going on together, city and county combined.
Well, especially if you're trying to encourage people to do longer stays,
Yeah.
to be able to say, there's like the history, there's water park, there's
Han State Park.
the nature options,
Ecotourism.
there's great shopping in the antique mall, and there's the wineries and make a 3-day stay out of it. And that really helps if you can encourage people to look at packages that aren't limited just to.
We don't have to co-brand with Perryville.
Yeah.
And do, bus tours with Perryville.
Yeah, but Joe, just a couple of questions I got. One is the bed tax is the same for hotels, B&Bs, Airbnbs. There isn't like a layered.
In the city, we treat it all the same. It's all
It's treated
2%.
all the same.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's really not unreasonable, correct? It's like. what,
2% is what the city charges.
Just 2%.
Yeah, so somebody paying $100 a night, it's costing them $2, right?
Correct. In the city.
This does not seem like it would be discouraging anybody for, it costs too much. But, so there's a lot of things about this that seem to make sense, unless.
We got 3 hotel or lodging owners right here.
Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think?
It makes sense to me. We've talked about this for years, back when we had a CVB, and we talked about taking this bed tax out to the counties, as long as it's promoted that it's not a tax to the people of St. Genevieve unless they decide to stay at a bed and breakfast, hotel, or an Airbnb. But when you talk about tax and you put that on the ballot, you have to do a pretty good marketing job of how it's going to be collected. Back in the day, we also looked at a 1% sales tax on food. McDonald's was very vocal about not wanting to add 1 cent or 1% to a cup of coffee, because we had several meetings over. They felt that the people would leave St. John and go to Farmington to get a cup of coffee instead of paying a penny. So there were other things we looked at besides the bed tax. And even another thing to to throw out is, do we look at, when you're doing this, do you look at a tourism tax for food? I know it's maybe muddy in the water with what Joe's got, but it was something that was looked at many years ago. It was voted down because now it affects the pocketbooks of people from St. John. But for sure, the bed tax in the county, I think, would be a good thing.
In your initial conversations, you get any pushback from any county people?
One of the county commissioners was, of course, just wanted to make sure that we were gonna promote it as taxes on a visitor and tourists, and that you know, that we would be very upfront about that, because, you know, they were concerned. I don't want it to look like we're trying to pass another tax on our citizens here, which, you know, so I think that was the biggest one that I got. And
I think by doing like town hall stuff
Yeah.
and informing the voter, obviously,
yeah,
that can be done.
So what's the next step? You're waiting to hear back from Sue?
Yes, I don't like to go out and speak for the committee, city council, you know, so I'm just kind of talking to people about the idea. So I don't know what the next steps really should be. So,
Do you need like an endorsement from this?
I don't know. I don't, again, I don't
Move
know.
into that
Yeah,
direction,
yeah.
or
I mean,
do you have to
know.
go take it to the city? Do you have to take it to the city council for anything?
It has nothing to do with you guys.
No, maybe, we can
I mean, I think it's
take it to the
right.
I mean, I think it might be a one-page proposal drafted, you know, that says we would like the county to consider this, and it also, I think you also have to spell out a little bit about what you want them to do with the funds if it does pass, you know.
I mean, everyone that travels, we all already pay this bed tax in other communities that we're staying in anyways.
We're paying it right here in the city. I mean,
Right.
we're paying it right here in the
I
city.
mean, yeah, if you're staying at an Airbnb or bed, yeah, true. So,
Well, I think my last question then, kind of like Dina was approaching there, is it appropriate and potentially useful if the group here basically has support for the idea to actually take a vote and express support of the concept? Would that be useful?
I'd make a motion that we propose a plan to implement a bed tax countywide to our county commissioners.
Second.
And everybody, all in favor?
Right.
Well, I think you can go ahead and as you discuss this with people, you now have
I'd like to maybe
essentially-
draft something and bring it back to the
yeah, I
committee.
think that's a good idea.
Maybe
Yeah.
draft something and bring it back to the committee.
Yeah, that would be the next step.
And maybe
I
a
think.
couple of us can go with you to
Yeah.
pitch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm not going along.
Because, I mean, let's face it, the budget we just approved is not an extremely extensive budget. And finding a reasonable way of expanding the impact of the marketing that goes out for the area as a whole would be really useful.
I don't know if we'd have time to get our marketing plan together before this all gets passed, but I mean, you can imagine if there was another $30,000 to put into a marketing plan, that they could start marketing outside, you know, a 30-mile, 60-mile radius, if they had another $30,000, give or take, what kind of effect that would have and what kind of marketing plan you could get and what kind of, you know, I just think it would be just, and then on top of that, now you're not only just marketing for city elements, now you're marketing with that professional marketing plan countywide with the additional funds. So I just think it'd be a win-win if we could, you know, I don't know how the timing's all gonna go on all this, but
Well, I think this represents a really interesting start, and I think it seems like the group as a whole, we see potential in this, yes?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah,
We see money more than potential.
dollars on it?
I agree. I mean,
Okay,
all
seriously.
my Airbnb people ask
Okay.
me, what's the deal?
Yeah.
All
Okay.
that hiking, all it. Makes sense to me.
Need a motion to adjourn.
No.
One more thing.
Oh.
One more thing. Put it
I don't see it on the
We
agenda.
got two more things. I put it at your seat.
Oh.
This is an offer that came across on the phone. We've been looking at doing, we haven't had any print advertising scheduled. It came through as this is a $12,000 option that the city could, and they've been talking to Anna Lynn and just never followed up. I said, well, I can't afford that. Come back with something better. So
So they're not desperate?
if you think we should advertise in food and travel, as a print medium, the offer is for $1,500. I'm sorry, it's $12,000 deal. And now they'll charge us $1,500 net. So it's like an editorial and some pictures of St. Genevieve in a medium that we have not ever used.
As acting tourism director, what's your recommendation, Happy?
On this,
Yeah.
I think we're not doing anything right now. This would be an opportunity to see if we could maybe include a QR code and see if we get some response.
What about these options that are in there? Would that be something that you'd want to do too? I haven't read through all this, but
No, I just want to do the basics.
okay.
It's be like an editorial and some pictures.
Who would create the ad?
I bet they do. I bet they send a.
Who's going to approve it?
But it has to be done by next Thursday. So we're waiting. I wanted to have this group get a chance to look at this.
And this is
It says
I think that's a bargain at $1,200.
It's, you know, they
What's their
also-
circulation to the time?
I think 300,000.
Hello.
well, and with the fact that we don't have anything coming down the pipeline for the fall, it's a no-brainer for me.
Move to
Yes.
approve.
Second.
All in
think-
favor?
Right.
But definitely the QR code, because this is, I mean, normally
To go
our,
to what though? Our website?
well, at least we can, but we'd be able to track then
Right, to see the numbers. coming in.
where,
Like with
where
a broken
people are
link, but at least
coming
we'd see what
from.
came.
Because it is such a vast thing. I'm not such, I mean, it's rarely outside of our,
But I get to get in.
I'm excited to see a magazine ad.
So I have one more piece of business to deal with.
Did you, oh, I'm sorry, Jeff, did we vote on that?
Yes,
We had
I-
a first and
everybody
a
said
second.
yes.
Oh, we
sorry,
did.
interrupted.
Well, you're supposed to. You had debate. You're
Yeah.
supposed to interrupt.
I want to let you folks know that regretfully, I have tendered my resignation from TPC and the chairmanship to the city manager. FCA is going through a restructuring, and we are going to be making some changes, and I am refocusing primarily as an educator and a grant writer. Will not be having as much of a direct involvement with tourism, and as such, I will not have much time. And this takes a lot of time if you're gonna do it well, and I don't like doing things halfway. The other thing is that it needs to be somebody who really is directly involved with the tourism industry and marketing and how the guests are reacting to things and understanding who they are. And I do not feel I will be in a position to help you with this. And as I said, I tendered my resignation effective as of the end of this meeting. But I do want to say that I am not abandoning this or leaving this group because I don't think you guys are a pain or that you're unpleasant to be around or anything like that. But by golly, this group, the two organizations, are some of the most passionate and thoughtful people in this community when it comes to these issues of getting this wonderful product that we have sold to people. And I know there's been issues and came up in the past about the tourism director being pulled in too many directions. Well, the key direction to pull and guide the person comes from this group, from you guys. And what you have to do is really vital. It goes back to that thing about the priority. It's not economic development. It's not putting together events. It's not planting peonies, by God. It's getting people from outside of this region to understand why this is such a remarkable place and coming here and spending their hard-earned money. That's the priority, and that's the guidance that you can provide to whoever ends up working with Happy as the new marketing and tourism director. And I really think it deserves to be done well and done right and done with commitment. And I regret that I can't guarantee providing that at this point. So, as I said, I'm sorry I have to step down. Thank you.
Well, thank you for all you've done,
Yeah.
Jeff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Nice job, Coach. You're welcome.
Yep.
Thank you. Well, go win one for the giver. All right, okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?